Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and this is a podcast where we're going to review the ways that you can change your mindset, change your habits, and actually change your life. Welcome to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks, and today we're going to talk about getting 1% better and paying attention to what you're actually persisting in. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. And if you are returning, I am so happy that you are here and that you continually come back to listen to the show. My goal here with this podcast is to teach others how to actually change their mindset, change their habits, and make changes within their lives using these type of tools. I focus very heavily on law of attraction, law of assumption type principles, really using your mindset to have the type of life that you want and how you can utilize your own focus to make sure that you're working towards the goals that you want, but then also tying it back to actual habit changes, learning about how your brain works and tools that you can use to feel better, whether that's emotional regulation, whether that's getting morning light, whether that's doing new habits that just make you feel better and raise your vibration so that you can have the type of life that you truly want. I often reference Neville Goddard. He is definitely a spiritual teacher that I have resonated the most with, but I like to tie in a bunch of different teachers and show how all of them have really been teaching the same thing, just in different ways, because each of us needs to figure out the way that works best for us. There is no one step only process that you have to take, including mine. I'm just sharing what has helped me, what has helped others, and things that may enlighten you to what will help you get to the point that you can love the life that you're leading. If memory serves me correct, I heard of 1% better for the first time when reading the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And the idea is to take each day and focus on a way that you can become 1% better in some area of your life. This can either be that you're going to make a decision to get up and do a 15-minute walk, that you're going to tidy one space, that you're going to make your bed, that you're going to eat one meal that has a vegetable included, whatever it is that's aligned to you, but that you're making a small effort choice to get 1% better each day. And I took that concept and I said, okay, if I wanted to get better in some areas of my life, not only can I find a way to be 1% better physically by either taking the walk, drinking more water, doing something that's like cleaning a space, making my bed, etc. But what were some of the ways that I could do this within my own mindset as well? What were some ways that I could focus on being 1% better within the state that I wanted to embody? And I started with questions. And one of the first ones was, how do I want to feel when I go to bed at night? What is the feelings that I would like to have? The contentment, feeling relaxed, and especially around a specific thing like a desired outcome. What was the way that I wanted to feel when I went to bed? And then I would ask myself, well, okay, is what I'm doing right now aligned with how I want to feel when I go to bed? And then I took it a little bit further and I asked myself, okay, what is it that I'm persisting in? What is the actual feeling that I'm focused on? What is the area that I'm persisting in the majority of the time? And becoming very aware of these things and being very honest with yourself about what you're persisting in. Like if you are persisting in the feeling of not being loved or desiring someone who does not desire you back, or if you are feeling like you can never pay your bills or you're constantly stressed that no more money is going to come in and you're going to lose everything, that's what you're persisting in. Even if you're doing techniques to focus on something else, or if you're doing techniques so that you can get yourself into a state of this desired wish fulfilled, and you're meditating and you're, doing scripting and affirmations and etc. That is wonderful. You can use those tools to align yourself to the way that you want to feel. But if then during your quote unquote waking hours or the rest of your day, you're in constant opposition of that, you're constantly persisting in the lack of having or the need for it to come faster, that's actually what you're continuing to focus on. And that's what you're giving life to. So if we go back to the principle that everything that you focus on, you're kind of breathing life into it. Your attention is like the fan on the flame of whatever is going on in your life. So the more that you pay attention to something, the more it gets mirrored back to you, which means the more that you pay attention to the delay, to the frustration, to the annoyance, to the not having of something, the more that that is what is presented to you in life and what you're able to actually perceive. We can only perceive the world based on our own consciousness, right? We can only see what we are aware of and what we accept as true. So if we accept as true that we are unloved and people are not nice to us and we're always kind of, left out of things and not included, that's what we're going to perceive. Our brain is going to pick up on those opportunities and reflect it back to us. Like, yes, you are correct. I'm going to confirm that your attention is correct and this is what you're getting. So how do you use that to get 1% better? It begins with being very honest with yourself. What are you persisting in? Where is your focus? And once you actually know, then that kind of highlights to you where your blocks are or where you're having your struggles. And then you can start to work on that. Then you can start to become 1% better. So if your desired outcome is this loving and beautiful relationship where you feel cared for and you need to start having those feelings internally, what can you do that would make you 1% better of showing up for yourself, of turning that focus back on you? In what ways can you make you the important focus? In what ways can you show up and give yourself these feelings internally before you expect them to be given to you externally? And I know that this can be a frustrating answer because a lot of times when folks are stuck in this cycle of really perceiving and giving life to the lack of what they have, they desperately want that external thing to come into their life. They want that person to be there. They want the money to be there. They want something to be there in order to make them feel better. But the truth is that you could have all of that stuff. And unless you've focused and realized your internal states first, it doesn't actually fulfill you in the way that you think it will. The newness of it kind of wears off. And if you think about somebody who has always wanted, let's say, a Mercedes, and they've been really focused on wanting this Mercedes, and then finally one day they get it. They get this brand new shiny car and they absolutely love it. But in a few months after driving that, the newness has kind of worn off. Now it's become just part of who you are. There's a calm sense of just having this, and you can still feel gratitude for these things, but it's not actually fulfilling you in the way that maybe you thought that it would. It gives you gratitude. You're happy that you can have this thing, but there's likely now something else that you want too. If you buy an amazing new house and it's got all the bells and whistles that you've wanted in a home, that's amazing. That's fantastic. I am very grateful for my home, but it is now my home. It just is what it is. It's not this grand thing that I'm trying to seek. I want to have the feelings of gratitude within me. I want to feel fulfilled and happy and joyful in my life because of the things that I do for myself. And then that externally continues to filter out from me and give me back these wonderful things. So let's say that you do determine that you are persisting in a feeling that is not actually the one that you want. And you want to use the concept of getting 1% better in order to improve this. Then take a look at your day. What are the things that you are doing that triggers this persistence? And when you are making these type of changes and you are telling your mind, we're going to think in a different way, we're going to focus in a different way, we're going to change these habits, it's going to likely feel very uncomfortable at first. Even when I change my morning routine, for the first couple weeks at least, it feels very awkward. It feels like I am doing something wrong and that I need to do something else. And the reason is because it's become a habit. There's just a habit of this routine of going through this, and that routine can be an emotional habit. It can be an emotional routine that you're falling into based on a cue that you have. So that could either be seeing Instagram and thinking of your ex. It could be driving down the street and passing a car dealership and realizing that you really want that kind of car. You don't like your car. And then feeling sorry for yourself that you're driving this car and that's not the one that you want. It can really be any type of cue. Or it can be a physical cue. You wake up in the morning, you grab your phone and you scroll for 2 hours. So if you were to look at your life and say, okay, especially in this area, I am not aligned to the person that I want to be. I am making choices that are not in alignment with the way that I want to live my life. What are some changes to this routine that I can make that is just 1% better? So let's say you want to be a healthier version of yourself and you want to move your body more. What is one thing that you could build into your day that makes you 1% better than what you were yesterday? Is it that you do 5 squats? Is it that you put on your workout clothes and your shoes and you go for a singular 1-minute walk? Whatever it is, as long as you are focusing on getting better than you were yesterday. And there's a couple of other tools that you can use to help yourself along this way. So one is habit stacking, where you're going to say, when I'm doing this that I already do, I'm going to add this other thing into it. So if you enjoy scrolling Instagram or TikTok, you could say, while I'm watching TikTok, I'm going to walk on the treadmill. This is my 1% better and I'm habit stacking. I'm putting these two together. You could also say that while I'm driving to work, I'm going to say my affirmations to myself. I'm going to review the things that I'm going to do for me. I'm going to repeatedly tell myself the intentions that I've set for my day and for my life. And I actually really recommend this. I like to set an intention. This is not something that I used to do. It's actually been relatively newer for me, but I've really enjoyed it. So I spend each morning setting my intention, not only for that day, but also just for my life. And I found that the more that I tell myself that intention, the more that I'm focused on it. And at first it felt kind of awkward to be like setting these intentions and to not only write them, but also say them to myself out loud. And I do tell myself them, like, my intention is to feel this way. And so if my intention is that, am I actually in alignment with that? And you'll find with my teachings, one of the biggest things that I'm always going to tell you is asking questions. Because the more that you ask questions, one, you're stopping your negative cycle loop because you're teaching your brain to focus on something else. You're giving it something to answer. You are stopping that moment that you're in struggle and instead asking a question. At this moment, what am I persisting in? Is it in alignment with how I want to feel when I go to bed? And what can I do right now to get 1% better in this area? What is something that I can do right now to break myself of this cycle, refocus on the things that I want, and start to actually get better? And then when you go to bed, you have these things to review of like, wow, I did this amazing thing. I actually created something for myself, a focus for me that was absolutely amazing and made me feel better and realigned me to the state and the identity that I want to embody. I'm going to take a quick break right here just to say that if you are enjoying this podcast, if you could please help me out. And if you are listening on YouTube, go ahead and give this video a like or a comment. And if you're listening on one of the podcast streamings, if you could please rate and review the podcast, or at least rate it. Podcasts are really pushed out based on ratings, and the more ratings that I can get, the more that I increase and the more that my message can get out to others. And I would really greatly appreciate it. And when I say that I not only focus on my intentions, but I actually write out my plans, I have found that saying at this time, I will do this while I'm doing this. So for an example, it would be at 7 a.m., I will put on my walking shoes and take my dog for a walk while I check my emails. And so I do that to say, okay, I want to get this stuff done. I want to feel like I'm productive. So I'm going to make a decision on what I'm going to do. I also will do ones as while I'm brewing my coffee, I'm going to do X amount of squats and also stretch out my back. And it's really anything that you find is in alignment with you. And you can start with these really small things. Like your 1% better could be that you are going to wait 10 minutes before getting on your phone in the morning. Your 1% better could be that you're going to start making your bed. Your 1% better could be that you're going to carry in the trash from your car instead of leaving it there. full disclaimer, this is one of my 1% betters that I work on all the time. I am often like, oh, I'll just get that later with either my coat or my gym bag or a coffee cup or whatever it is. And guess what? The later never comes until I'm like, this is ridiculous. You need to take this stuff out of your car. I'm sharing that because I want everybody to know that no matter where you really are, there's always something that you can work on. So even if you're in a great spot in some areas, like I'm really good about making my bed. I like my room to be nice and to have this like great area for me to go to bed. But in my car, I'm just like, meh, I'll get that later. I'm not going to worry about it. So you can have things that you're really, really good at and then things that you need to work on. And that's the beauty of this like 1% better is that you're just focusing on small things. And if there's something big that you're working on, like let's say that you want to create content on YouTube and you have started pushing this content out, what can you do to get 1% better in every video that you do? This is actually advice that I also heard from Mr. Beast, where he said, like, what can you do each time to get a little bit better? Can you do a better thumbnail? Can you have a better intro? Can you write a better title? Anything small that you can do that each time you're like, no, I'm getting better. I'm improving. I'm improving in the content that I put out. I'm improving in my writing. I'm improving in my own self-development. And here's the other thing and kind of the trick or key in this. The more that you focus on yourself and improving yourself and recognizing that you're doing this for yourself, you naturally are improving your own self-concept. These are the times that you are starting to show yourself without sometimes even being aware of it, that you are worthy, that you love yourself and that you care about yourself. Because if you didn't care about you or you didn't care about your life and the things that you were doing, you wouldn't be giving yourself this love and attention. You wouldn't be doing this for yourself. And if you're in a really tough spot where you're like, I feel like crap, I am really struggling here, your 1% better could be something very, very small. Your 1% better, if you are struggling to get up out of bed in the morning and you are in a depressive state, your 1% better could be that you sit up and your feet touch the ground. That is better than yesterday, and that is 1% better, and it's worth celebrating. Your 1% better could be that today you brushed your hair. That's fantastic. And I am really proud of you if you do that today. And I hope that you're proud of yourself because we are all at our own starting points. And although this is not something that I can really answer in too much great detail, and if you are in that kind of struggle, I definitely encourage you to seek a therapist in your area. I am not a licensed therapist. I am just sharing things that have found to help me, and I have found that have helped others that I have shared them with. That's why I'm always talking about the daily joys. Like your daily joy could be that you brushed your hair because you're showing up for yourself, you're getting 1% better, and you're doing something that says, I'm worth this. Even if I don't feel it deep down somewhere that I'm not consciously aware of quite yet, I know that I'm worth this time and this attention. And I also want to talk to the parents out there or the caregivers, actually, I'll say. So whether you're a caregiver of a child or a caregiver of an elderly parent or a sibling who needs your help, whatever type of caregiver you are, it is also still important that you show up for yourself. The old saying of you can't pour from an empty cup is beyond true. So the more that you are giving so much of yourself that you don't actually have, and you're not focusing on fulfilling yourself and giving yourself that love and that attention and really increasing your self-worth of saying, I'm worth these moments, I'm worth doing these things, I'm worth getting 1% better each and every day, just 1%. That's all that I'm asking, 1 little percent. When you are telling yourself that, you actually have more to give to your kids. You have more to give to the person that you are caring for. You have more to give out to the world. I love helping people. I love doing things for people. I love doing things for my kids. I love sharing information. But if I did not fulfill myself first, I would be useless to my family. I would be useless to my listeners. I would be useless to anyone that I interact with because it creates a feeling of resentment and it creates a feeling of being overwhelmed and nobody noticing the things that you're doing. And this doesn't mean that you need to take a spa level type bath every day or that you need to do a 15-step skincare. It is small things of showing up for yourself. It is small things of joy. If you take your kids to the park, swing. Okay, I think I've shared here before. If you're new, I really like swinging. It's like one of my favorite things to go do. But you can can do those kind of things. Get up and play basketball with your kids. If you enjoy reading, take a book and read while they're playing at the park. There are things that you can do to become 1% better and to fulfill yourself. And there are also physical things that you can do, physical actions that you can do that internally will make you feel better. Some of those are things like getting up and getting the morning sun. It actually kicks off our circadian rhythm. It helps with sleep. It's one of the best things that I've ever added to my day, which I was kind of surprised by. I have kind of a weird sleep schedule. I have to keep myself in line, or else I start waking up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, which I'm all for, early rising, but that's too much. That's middle of the night. That's not morning. And I tell myself that all the time. This is not morning. This is not awake time. So getting that morning light actually started to balance out my own cycle. And I'm sure some of it has to do with my cortisol levels and etc. But I don't focus on that. I just knew that I was sleeping better and I had a better sleep cycle. One of the other ones is physical movement. We are in a human body. We should be moving that human body, and it just feels good. Like, you should do things that feel good. You should do things that, even if they're hard, you're still showing yourself that you can show up. So when you go to the park or you're spending some time wondering, what should I do with myself? How can I get 1% better? Maybe get up and do some sort of physical activity. Move your body. And bonus if you can do it outside. I actually think the more time that we spend outside, the better. And I can easily get caught up in the loop of back-to-back meetings, needing to get my mom somewhere, needing to get my kids somewhere, focusing on dinner, having to go to the grocery store, making sure that I'm doing this, that, and the other. But when I take the time to say, no, I'm going to spend some time outside, I'm just going to either sit with my book, I'm going to go for a walk, I'm going to do things outdoors, I just naturally feel better. This increases my vibration, and I like having good vibes. Like, I just like to be a person who enjoys life and goes out and does things for myself because it feels good. And on top of that, though, I have a fantastic relationship with my children. So I have a fantastic relationship with the people that I am caring for. And just so folks know, like, I help care for my mom because she does not currently drive. So I take her to the places that she needs to be. I balance out like her, schedule with me doing this type of content, having a 9 to 5, having children that are in events, and then also doing that. And I still give to myself. And yes, of course, there are some days that I feel overwhelmed and I need to recenter myself. I need to come into this present moment. And I have found that the way to do that is by repeatedly returning to my daily joys. How can I get better in this moment? How can I get better right now from 10 minutes ago? If I'm overwhelmed and I'm stressed out, what are the tools that I have in my arsenal to kind of bring myself back? And this is the way that I have continuously gotten better, and it has greatly improved my life. So just a quick recap before I close out today. Getting 1% better means making some sort of effort to be better than you were yesterday or better than you were an hour ago. And that better is up to you, the way that you want to define it. What is your desired outcome? What is the type of life that you want to lead? And what is one way that you can get 1% better within that? And it's fantastic to habit stack within that. Do something that you always do and add something new to it. So while you're brewing your coffee, you're going to do 5 jumping jacks. Or while you are making your tea and you're waiting for the water to warm up, you're going to write in your journal. These are all the ways that you can get 1% better. While you're driving to work, you're going to say your affirmations and then listen to an upbeat podcast. You're going to choose music that is upbeat and positive and makes you feel good instead of like a sad love song if you are struggling and that kind of puts you in a bit of an emotional funk. Make a decision to do things for yourself. Either tidy a space because it feels better for you. Make your bed, get up and brush your hair, wash your face at night, go for a walk, get some morning sun, eat one meal that's better than the meals that you ate yesterday, makes you feel better. Anything that you want to do that for you is getting 1% better and making you feel better overall. You're just like focusing on the good vibes without forcing them. You're doing things that are enjoyable to you and feel good at the end. Always align yourself to how you want to feel when you go to bed. and ask yourself, what am I actually persisting in? If I'm in a struggle and I'm on a cycle of like, this is not working for me, this is not working for me, what am I persisting in? What am I paying attention to? And what are the ways that I can change that attention and focus on something else? So for an example, if I am focused on the fact that a friend is never returning my call, and this is all the thing, and I just keep calling them, and they don't return my call, and I'm focused on this, and I feel like crap because I don't understand what's going on. How can I redirect myself in those moments to not focus on the lack of the phone call? What feeling is it that I am actually lacking? Is it a feeling of being desired? Is it a feeling of being loved? And how can I create that feeling in another area for myself and not worry about this external event? And I can almost promise you that as soon as you get that down, you'll get the call from the friend that you were looking for. It's just kind of the way that it works. But so these are small examples that you can start to use in your own life to improve the way that you are focusing and to really be honest with yourself. Because one of the things that I see a lot when people message me is that they are not being honest with themselves. They are saying the words to me that makes it clear what they're actually focusing on. But when I repeat it back to them, they don't want to admit it, or they want to think that I'm wrong and that I just don't get it and I'm not listening. And it can be difficult to be honest with yourself, but it really is important that you keep digging in. And that's why I always recommend asking those questions. If you wanted to make a change in your life, if you were living your ideal life right now, what are things that you currently do that you would not be doing? And what are things that you're not doing that you would add? So think about that as well. If you knew that you were living your ideal life, what are things that you're doing right now that you would not continue to do? So if you had the best day ever, would you be checking your ex's Instagram? If you felt loved and desired and fantastic, is that something that you would spend your day doing? As much as I would assume the answer is no, it really is up to you to determine what it is that you would do or not do. And if you have a condition in life that you are not enjoying and is frustrating and is like just making you kind of, I don't want to say angry, but frustrated, right? And feeling this lack, if you have that condition in your life, it is very important that you trace it back to the feelings that you're actually having. You need to be honest with yourself. If this is not going the way that I want it to, what is my actual focus? Where's my actual attention being placed? What am I actually persisting in? I hope that you found today's episode helpful, and I hope that you also find the ways for you to get 1% better and really start to focus on the ways that you can improve your life. The more that you do it, even if it feels kind of corny at first, the easier it actually becomes. It will start to become part of your identity to always be focused on self-improvement. That is a shift that I have noticed in myself, is that I just am always working on self-improvement. How can I get better? And it's not a conscious thought of like, oh, I have to be better in this area. It's just naturally started to produce itself that I am always focused on the ways that I can be better, that I can challenge myself, that I continue to do things that make me feel good, fill my cup. And then the more that I do that, the better I am to everybody else that's around me. So have an absolutely beautiful week. I hope wherever you are in the world, I've been noticing that the podcast is starting to tick up in some other countries, and I am just phenomenally amazed by that. I'm so happy that you're listening. I'm so happy to see people from all over the world listening. It's remarkable to me. It is so cool the way that we can reach so many, even when we're so many miles apart and in completely different time zones. So wherever you are, I hope that you have an absolutely beautiful week. If you have any questions or anything to say, of course, you can always email me, unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com.